That was unexpected. Okay, once again, my name is Krzysztof Ożóg, but everybody refers to me as Chris for simplicity. So I will be speaking about creating a daemons in PHP and in particular in Symfony 2. But just before I get to my presentation, I will say a few words about me to gain some credibility. Okay, I've been, like it was said before, CTO in Code Sushi since 2012. And I've been Symfony 2 enthusiast since year before. I actually made one of the very first Cilius sites, and I was like in the company before Code Sushi, where creating a daemons was like probably one of the most common tasks. So I have some experience in creating like long-running processes in PHP, and just random fact that I finished, I graduated actually, computer science, both computer science and philosophy. So it's like fun fact. And I've been developing in PHP since 2007. Okay, hope that got you interested. And as you can see, it's a company's inner joke that I've been referred to Jon Snow and the guy who no fun. Okay, so let's brief get over to through the plan. And so the obvious part is daemons. Some reminder for you, and why do actually we need them sometimes. Some like usual ways of doing of tools for creating daemons, and some daemons in pure PHP. Actually, there was some error in implementation that I missed, and creating a daemons with the Symfony and Symfony console component. And as a closing thing, I would like to mention a few things that are worth considering when writing a daemon. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about daemons. Okay, as you might notice, I've already done my homework and checked if there is a mascot for daemons, and there is one. And okay, we all know what daemon is. Daemon is simply the process that runs in the background and that does useful stuff for us. For example, it serves web pages on the port 80. For example, it's sending emails and some and such things. So basically, we have like two most common use cases of daemons. It's like we need to create some sort of server, like WebSockets, and deal with some protocols. I had to deal with back in my days with the previous company. I had to deal with a protocol like SMTP. Have you heard about this protocol?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So actually, I needed to write some PHP server that will connect on the like binary level with the telecom server and handle this process for sending and receiving SMSs. That was like kind of daemon that was required, and also I was like maintaining the existing daemons in the system, because there were already a few. But actually, I will speak about this solution later. The solution was not so great because it was, as it was mentioned, as I will mention it later, it was like kind of hacking of operating system instead of using its own features. And the other use cases that I found useful for daemons is Chrome that will be running more often than 1 minute. So like if we need to execute some task in like every 15 seconds or every 10 seconds, it is one of the use cases. So there are probably more use cases for daemons, but these two are worth mentioning. Okay, and when you need to create a daemon, the PHP is like the least, the thing that you actually do not consider. You will consider probably the Node.js, Python, Ruby, or even the C. But these tools offer also a very great way to create daemons. For example, Python have some daemon tools. I used it once. It was okay. Although being a PHP developer and great Python fan kind of makes things complicated. But it was okay, and it did the job, and it didn't die as a process. It didn't die in like 2 or 3 hours, so it was kind of reliable. Ruby, I know nothing about Ruby. I'm Jon Snow of the Ruby, like it was mentioned before. But using Google, and I was kind of smarter, and actually the Ruby have like the same thing as the Python, and obviously I just looked at the C. The C, the last time I was having contact with C was like in when I studied computer science, and that's it. But I know Google says, so it must be true, that C is actually the best language for writing daemons. So, and of course the Node. Node is the like pip thing. Everybody. Like if we need to do some daemon, everybody like, for example, in particular the WebSocket server, everybody like automatically thinks about Node.js. So it's like obvious things to do, when in need of like WebSocket server. But I'm not going to talk about those things, those awesome things more. I will focus on the dreadful PHP. Okay, so why the hell are we need to create a daemon in PHP if the PHP is so bad language? Which is it? For example, we have like something that is pitched in case of the Node.js, that we have a single language for everything. And in this case, we have also we can have also a single language for most of the system. Like why I have to repeat the same programming, same coding that I've already done in PHP. For example, in Symfony, I have already coded the entities, the relations between them, the database, the some events, I can just, while creating a daemon in PHP, I can use that. I can reuse the components. There are like plenty of Symfony components. When we create the applications, we also create some kind of components that are kind of reusable when when creating the daemons, and when it's actually true only if we are Symfony developers, which we all are. We are still inside of Symfony, so that's basically a huge gain of things. Okay, so how to create a daemon in PHP. There is a simple example like tweet length of daemon. It is basically while you do something. Problem is that that's not sufficient, because if we write some code like that, and we like left it on server, even with no hub, running through no hub, it will operating system can kill it in some time, because it decides that this process was, for example, too idle or something like that. So we need some like better solution for that. And the heartbeat check was used for my daemon handling the SMPP solution. Basically, it consists of the two parts. One is a simple cron script, and the second part is actual code that is running. And on each cycle, on each like at the end of the bottom of the while loop, we put some timestamp in some heartbeat file, and then we have a cron script checking whether this heartbeat have changed. If it doesn't change, or it's like too much in the past, it will need to like restart the daemon actually. And basically, it's like it was kind of relevant in like 2010 or 2011, but since then we have like grown some solutions that are very easy to implement and very like useful. And I'm going to talk about this, and basically there are two ways of doing that. It's one thing is like forking. It's using the PHP's extension that allows you to create a fork process and detaching those processes. So doing this like C way. When you have to write a daemon in C, that's how you would do it. By creating a sub-process, child process, detaching this process from the main one, so it like returns control, it goes into the background, blah blah blah. It's boring enough. The other solution is using the upstart script. Basically, upstart make things very, very easy, which I'm going to show you. I have prepared like a virtual machine with this, but due to some technical issues, I will just show you some code. Or even though I heard that the upstart became like outdated, so there are new things like systemd, and there's some rumors that it's going to replace the upstart in the new releases of Ubuntu. Okay. Let's look at some examples. It will be the first one. Okay, so basically that's not really interesting because this is the code for like a very simple ping server coded in pure PHP without objects and something. It's just like a demo script showing that we can like create a socket listening thing in PHP, and it will respond if we connect with daemons to it. So as you can see, the main loop is here. It's nothing fancy, nothing to be really proud of. It has like 2 loops inside. One is handling the whole daemon process, the second is handling the connected user, and so on. So basically it's just a pure PHP which tend to run forever. So how can we make a daemon from that? It's by this file. It's an abstract script which configures the upstart to handle our process. We can configure this daemon by telling it when it should be run. So basically my daemon was like a ping server. So what I needed to do was run it when the networking is ready. So the 10th line of the script does that. The 6th line is telling the system to respawn it. So when something wrong with the script or it was being actually killed, accidentally killed by other process, we can respawn it, so we can restart it. And the 7th line tells when to stop restarting it. For example, if we entered some, for example, typo, and the script is broken, then we can tell the upstart if it will crash 5 times within 10 seconds, stop responding it. And start on run level, and we give a list of the run levels, and stop on run level S, which is shorthand for shutdown. And as you can see, I used vagrant in my demo. So you can enter your user name or user identifier here, and as well as group identifier. I have a practice that when I set up some application, I create a user that will be handled by this application. So, for example, if I have project X to the right on my server, test server, I will create a project X user that will be for that project. So that can be useful for such things. And the 18th line of the script is the heart of the script. It's telling the upstart which command to run, and we need to put full path to the command, more like in the cron. Okay, So that wasn't very much interesting, and let's have a look at some. The second time. Think so. Oh no, I was. Yeah, I want project file. I will get back to the presentation later. The second, the pink server. So this is more exciting, but not much. Basically, it's a command that will run forever. And it's basically the same example, but written in the object-oriented way. So it's like you can stop bleeding from your eyes, or you can start bleeding with your eyes, depending on which side of the standards and code beauty you are. And it does the same thing. Although, what's interesting in here, I am actually able to use all the Symfony components that are available in Symfony. So that's huge advantage. Also, I'm inside my project, so we have a couple examples when we needed to do some stuff for basically we have some other project when I was using a similar solution when I needed to like ping some API every 15 seconds. It was like for proof of concept code and something like that. And I wrote a daemon for that. And inside this daemon, I check some conditions and I throw some events. And those events were handled by the Symfony event dispatcher, event listener component. So that gave me like a huge advantage because I didn't have to worry that something will be like in other language and other developers from my company won't actually be able to handle it. It was all in Symfony, all in PHP, so that's why I decided for the solution. So, and the last thing from my hugely successful demo, it's for your reference the abstract script. Basically, just differs on line 18, which I gave path to full console and full command. Okay, so this is so much for the exciting demos, and now I can return to presentation. Thanks. Okay, and I already have shown you the command code, but also there is a bundle for that. And that bundle is like helping us with the more frequent cron scenario. Basically, you don't have to write a loop while loop in the Symfony Symfony command execute, it's being like already done by classes that are given by this command class or this bundle, and it's actually very helpful if you like don't want to write a dreadful while loop. It's done by you, so you can remain pure. And actually, besides that, it gives you like a few things. Some tools for debugging. Debugging memory leaks. It gives you some tools for like gives you already upstart script template, and it behaves very nicely, and it's actually worth looking at the source code of this piece of code. But it's only useful if we have a cron script scenario, if we have like ping server scenario. It's needed to be done with the while loop, and maybe there is an improvement that someone can contribute to those these bundles. Okay, and next is actually I'm actually notifying that I will soon will stop speaking. So, few things to consider and not to forget about. Okay, daemon is something that runs and runs and runs and keep running and keep running, and it can gain some trouble. It can cause some troubles. First of all, connection to other services like databases, for example, MySQL. MySQL tends to close the connections, and you have to remember that when you have something running for 14 hours, default MySQL timeout is set for 8 hours. So you need to remember to always start a new connection at the beginning of the while loop and close connection at the end of the while loop, because sometimes you just your daemon will eventually die because he won't be able to connect to the database and story over. Also, the same thing is worth mentioning in other resources, like for example files. If we open a log file and, for example, we have ambition to do some monologue clone, and we do this by daemon. We need to remember about opening and closing files, and it's actually similar to the database. It's like the resource will be locked, and we need to make sure that its lock time is the shortest possible, and also. Actually, it was true in Python. I don't believe it's true in PHP. When the file was, until the file was closed, it wasn't written in to disk. So if the daemon is running and running and running, and it closes the files only if it's terminating, then at determination the whole contents of file will be written to disk. That's not the desired effect. And the last thing is the memory leaks. It might not be so much big of a problem in PHP because of the automated garbage collection and this awesome stuff. But imagine a situation that we have like code constantly running. On each iteration, it adds element to array. Given enough time, it could eat all memory in the system. So just remember, when writing daemons, we need to like remember about this. So this is like almost the end of the presentation. And if you have some questions, I'm glad to answer.
May I start with the first question? So you mentioned so little about the memory leaks, but I think memory leaks is the most important thing when you run zero commands. And it's interesting how you control the memory leaks inside the daemons. And also, another question, you mostly run just a file, just a command itself, but do you use the threads inside the PHP which already proposed with the version higher than 5.6? So they already have a threads, and you can run one script which run another one script. And this is not possible way to easily control all of these threads with the pin server. So it means if you kill one of them, it may kill like waterfall all of others. And this is important thing to control all of us.
Actually, the problem of the new versions of PHP is that they are not really fast adopted. And in this way, I have to rely on the version 5.5. But the threads in PHP were available much, or forking were available much before, but it was kind of hard to develop. I just want to show, encourage people to not to be afraid to create. But actually, I need to look at this because I haven't had a chance to actually bite my teeth into the stuff that you are talking about.
What about memories?
Excuse me?
What about memory control? How you do it inside the
Well, in case of memory control, I just try not to open too much resources and keep my daemon as simple as possible, so it only thinks something, throws some event, and then it's all done. And also the memory control is probably the best to just keep track of the memory usage and find a way to get some more control of the things. And also the mentioned bundle for me was having a debug tool which was talking about, which was handling the memory control, and you could keep track of memory usage and detect memory leaks in that command. So, in that mentioned bundle.
Okay.
Can you tell more detail how are you handle situations when connection to database is suddenly closed?
Okay. Basically, doctrine have something like I completely forgot if it's ping, the method ping in connection of DBAL connection ping. It is like checking whether the server connection is ready, and then I can, relying on the result of this, I can either reconnect or do nothing, for example. That's the one way of doing that, but this is like sometimes it's it's important problem, especially if you are writing a like pure PHP daemon, because there you have no options of you have to do this by hand. Okay.
One question. I agree that PHP postpone problem, but have you ever a situation with a covered PHP process, and what we will do in this case? For example, when I try to stress this PHP process, I show only system mod-wise call, and I don't know what happened inside this PHP code, and how, for example, for me, find the really problem in my PHP code, not C code.
Okay, so basically you are asking how to debug a daemon code, or something like this when you have like no output of the daemon, or I totally misunderstood you.
The question is related that sometimes the given like string, but in real you here have a response, and you can check does it response is real response or this is response is already there, and so it means I pin the daemon say yes, okay, we're working. But in real, nothing happened. So it's more or less like. So the question is, where is control point to understand that this daemon is really dead, even if they have some response.
Okay. I'm gonna take a wild shot here, and to answer that question. Actually, the whole thing that when it's the controlling of the if the process is running is done by upstart. So it's like a system command, part of the system. And even if we like, in my example, I have a method to kill the server, and if it's being killed by the command, just to demonstrate that, the upstart will restart it immediately. So that's one of the possible answer for that. The second answer is when I write daemons or something that runs in the background, I heavily rely on logging, and I always like to log something if something is happening with the daemon, so the daemon can give me some information that yes, that is me, I'm running, and you like issued some commands to this. So I don't know really if this answers questions that have been asked, but this is how I see it.
Yeah, okay, I think we can discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, for understand the main benefit from using Symfony console component for creating daemons is just to stay in your comfort environment. So what other benefits do you see? Because PHP is not the best language for creating daemons, and you sacrifice performance and sustainability in order to stay in comfort environments. What is the real life cases you see for using PHP and Symfony to create daemons in your projects?
Okay, I will answer that. Basically, I wrote a chat server in PHP that is handling this situation. It works really well. For example, to be honest, and it gives me like comfort that you mentioned, but also I can decide whether it's doing okay, and I can stay with this and be happy with it, or it will like be failing constantly, not really doing his job, and then I will think about rewriting this into, for example, Node.js. So my philosophy for that is why we need to, why do we need to like leave our happy sandbox when and pursue some solutions that are kind of unfamiliar for us. It's like a general way of thinking. When let's try to first to check whether PHP is good enough. If it's good enough, then we have like more time to learn other tools, and we are like not on like time pressure for that. So it's more like not the technological reasons for that, because there is always a better technology, and it's all technologies are asterisk. There will be something better in next year for everything. So why not just for now stick to PHP, make it happen, make client happy for now, and for example, if he like if his site will flop, it will not gain momentum, it will not gain a user. So basically, he will like be paying for us to learn Node.js and play with fancy toys. But if we like do this in PHP, we are certain that all the problems that will appear can be handled by the PHP developers. So that's the semi-philosophical, semi-business approach. And of course, it's like also the pushing boundaries of the PHP. So basically, we all rant about PHP being bad language, but actually it's not so bad language. And you can use it for a lot of things. For example, daemons.
So, do you have any experience with high-load usage of your daemons? And if so, if so, maybe you have some experience with load balancing of your daemons. Thank you.
Okay, so with to answer short, with high-load, it's kind of hard question because for latest daemons that I wrote, I have no experience because the We tested it, but it's not really efficient. And for now, it's load balancing is like not really the issue. But second, my daemons are still running in the previous company that I worked, and depending on what you decide, how you define the high load, like sending 1,000 SMS in 1 minute, maybe or receiving, maybe high load or not. And my daemon have handled that situations, and it worked well. It also have a really bad thing because I was an experienced developer there, and actually I let myself for SQL injection there. So, for example, there is the SQL injection was obviously fixed, but the high load is often something that depends on some other things. So daemons, to answer that, I think daemons in PHP can be reliable and can handle such things, and I just need to figure out the load balancing and high level of that. But hopefully there will be like Symfony CAMP in next year.
Okay.
Chris, I have a question regarding tools that should run and keep our processes alive. So you told that you were using things like abstract scripts and systemd, but as for me, I'm using a service called Supervisor G that is designed exactly for things like starting and keeping our processes alive, but with several extra features like centralized logging and some other things. So the question is, have you considered about using Supervisor G service, and why you ended up with systemd and abstract scripts in the end?
Okay, thank you for the question. I actually use the Supervisor G because it's also a tool written in Python, and I didn't really dig much into that because as for my needs, the abstract script and that previous solution mentioned were just okay. I know the abstract script is worth considering. Sorry, not abstract script. The Supervisor D. I actually use it on productions in one of our projects in Code Sushi, but it was like 1.5 years ago. So it's also a plausible thing. I also consider it including a Supervisor D here, but I think that the for the purpose of this talk, I just chose the Upstart because it's like easy to explain and easy to show. But I also will consider the some extensive knowledge gaining in systemd. No systemd, but Supervisor D.
I have one last question about it. Do you start to handle the problem to when you want to upgrade your daemon? So daemon is almost as work. So it's almost a huge task list, and somehow you want to update it, this daemon. So how you handle this? So you specialist topic. Make some cases to quick update or some mentions. What do you process?
Okay, this is actually a very good question. because for now, in both cases of the daemons that I worked with, or now with Sushi, and later, and in my previous company, these daemons or these services had like no user times where there were no users using it, so it could be safely restarted and then upgraded and then started again. So that is the for me that's the safest way of handling that. But obviously there should be some sort of shutdown method that will like tell the connected client that, for example, close the connections to this is a socket server of some sort, and or safely finish the operations, and then stop itself, and then the upstart will automatically restart the service with the updated code. So that's the one of the solutions that I just thought of.
So it's almost you control it back. So I mean,
yeah.
For instance, you have 5 daemons which processes tons of data. So we want to upgrade one of them or a couple of them. So we need to by hand say about it. So this daemon should be stopped, and next this, and this, all of them should be stopped, and next I make an upgrade and run it again.
Yeah,
so
that's for me that's the safest way. But obviously there is some room for improvement there, and I just need to like think more about this in the future. I didn't think about this because, like I said, there was always some time for maintenance in those daemons. Like there was like time in the day where nobody was actually using this service.
Okay, thank you. Any question?
What is it about the live system? If daemon work in live system, something could go wrong. Yes. What maybe some light marks from you about the debugging in live system, maybe logging logs and something like that.
Okay, this I was experienced with, but the first thing is when dealing with daemons, as I said before in answering one of my questions, is heavy logging. Use the logs, put some logs because you have no output on the screen. So you always need to know what's happening with the daemon. Especially, I was working with something that was processing payments. So each attempt to perform a payment needs to be logged, and its output also needs to be logged. That's a common sense. But also, yeah.
What about logs? It's always good, yes. But which system do you use? Maybe any application or what? Because one file and too many logs, it's a little bit hard to find what happens at this time.
Okay, I always, when I create a daemon, I always try to create a separate log file for it. So I can like examine which daemon is doing which. So Symfony, sorry, not Symfony, but Monologue offers that solution. Also Symfony Bridge as well. But just in case of PHP, you have total freedom of creating any log file. So that's the way, like name of the process and log for that. And basically I use like what system admin would use. Tail minus F or grep or something like that.
Did you think about using for such logs, for example, Bana or Elasticsearch, and some improvements of this or analyzing of these logs?
Do you use some service like
Service for logging.
yeah, service for logging monitoring? So you store on this with data entry, logging, or access.
Not right now, no. And back in the days when I was like more actively developing daemons, there were no such services.
Okay. Any question? Just one note. It's hard marketing. If you can integrate all the photos, yes, we are hiring. You know, this is relocating to the phone. So if someone wants to relocate to the phone, ask
Yes.
Krzysztof, and you can go there. Thank you very much.